Welcome, Internet, to Makers on Tap. We have a super fun episode. We're actually like all in a room together.
Yeah.
And we just finished out an escape room at our local escape room place that we'll let the owner introduce. It's called Gone in 60. And we're here with Matt, who's the owner and built the escape room that we just dug through for 2 hours. We didn't win. But yeah. So who all's here?
Aaron's here.
Chris.
And then Matt here.
All right. So, Matt, why are you here? Why are we talking to you? Who are you?
I don't know really why you're here talking to me. It's just an escape room. But we're here because Joe here asked to interview me and give a little insight on what we're doing here, I guess. We're a small company. The actual company is Red Hat Enterprises, and we started with haunted houses, and it kind of evolved from there. That's how we got here. So,
So Red Hat, are you affiliated with Red Hat Linux? What's the deal?
It's funny you ask that. No affiliation whatsoever. I guess it all goes back to my son that's named Dayton, and that used to be my screen name for computers and chat and all that other stuff. And I had Dayton. I named him Dayton. I was like, I can't use my son's name for anything. So I was like, I always wore a hat, and it's usually red. So I was like, why not do Red Hat? So
yeah.
So
company names always make me chuckle. Like they're always something simple like that when you get like down dirty into the LLCs that are behind the actual companies.
Right.
After it's been beaten up by branding and everything's like, nah, you can't make a company called Red Hat. Like there's a company called Red Hat. They make computer stuff. Yeah. So it's always fun to get back into that.
Yeah.
So we're sitting in where are we sitting now?
We're sitting in my office here in Peoria, in our facility that we have. We've got 14,000 square feet here, so it's just a small office that we've got here. So we're just sitting in the office that I share with my partner and wife here. So
the escape rooms are gone in 60 seconds, right?
No.
Okay.
It's not gone in 60 seconds. No, it's gone in 60 escape games. Yes, we always get, gone in 60 seconds. Well, that doesn't really make sense, does it? Because it's 60 seconds for an escape room?
No, it's not.
Yes, we get a lot of people are like 60 seconds. I mean, it happens all the time. Sometimes we're like, we shouldn't have picked that, but we're trying to go with something original. So that's why we went with Gone in 60 escape game. So 60 minutes. So even though it took you guys 2 hours.
Well, we failed real hard at that, but that was a really hard room. I've done one other escape room, so I don't have like a strong baseline, but I made it out of that one in 50 minutes with one other person.
Well, the room that you guys did, since Joe hasn't said what it is, it's called Vampire. So
no, it's called Cemetery. I was specifically told this was called Cemetery.
Right, it's Cemetery. See, I don't even know. You know what? I mean, come on. I just build it.
It's difficult because like I get why you're wanting to like keep the allure of like what could be happening. You're in a cemetery and all that kind of stuff. But we were talking to the instructor who was kind of like, because we got told we were alpha testers because we were the first ever outside people from the company to go through it. And so I immediately asked because like I had never done an escape room, but I've watched videos before on like what escape rooms are and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, all right, you gotta give me the story. You gotta give me like what's going on. Like I'm excited. And like she was like, we haven't figured it out yet, but you have to think. So I'm like, asking him like, all right, what century are we in? Like, are we people? Like, give me something. Like, but it was super fun. Like, it was super immersive. Like, there was a lot of puzzles that like tripped us up, and we had to like rethink it. But it was super awesome.
Right. Yeah, I get it. I mean, and so I'm going to get yelled at because I said cemetery or
Nobody's
said
gonna listen to
vampire.
this. It's
So
fine.
I mean, you know, I just build them. So I mean, I'm gonna get a lot of crap for that. But yeah, so it's called vampire. So and everybody's like, okay, so what do you guys think of vampire? I mean, what do you think instantly when it's vampires the escape room? So I mean.
Oh no, is it vampire or is it cemetery?
Oh, yeah.
I want to be a vampire.
Right. No,
Yes.
see, now I've got it all screwed up in my head. See, it's like I'm drunk or something, which I'm not. But I mean, it is called
It would be normal for our
cemetery.
podcast.
It is called cemetery. So
Okay. See, that's where I feel like yeah, like vampire does give the twist away a little bit. But I don't feel like I knew what direction I was going in with. Like, there was definitely like cool little things. Like, at one point we saw some scratch marks, and I kind of like was looking at it. I was like, oh, maybe that's like some kind of like werewolf thing. Where I was like, that's kind of interesting, like kind of cool thing. But then we started seeing some other props that were in there that very much resembled, like vampire culture. And so it was like, oh, okay. Like there was definitely some really cool things. Obviously it would be hard to like create a full story with not giving away the big surprise at the end. But it's fun. It was very fun.
I mean, I'm glad you had a good time. I mean, it's really hard coming up with these stories. And so many of them are repeated. So, we try to, one of our retired rooms is the morgue. So when I came up with the idea of the morgue, I just think of weird stuff. And I was like, wouldn't it be really cool if you got put into an actual morgue cooler? And so we centered everything around this morgue cooler thing to where you actually had to get put in a morgue cooler for one of the puzzles. And that's...
Like a drawer?
Yes.
Oh God.
I remember hearing about this.
So the escape room. So in one of the part of the puzzle or part of the room is where you have to actually lay down, and this was a real morgue drawer. So it was the actual thing. So you pulled it out of the wall, and you had to lay down on this and get pushed into the morgue cooler. So I was like, that would be so cool. So I'm like. So that's
sure
what
I agree.
Now remember, I said everything started with haunted houses. So
Right,
I mean, that's my passion is haunted houses. So, and I'm like, that would be so cool. So I mean, we have a lot of people that were very uncomfortable with this fact when they figured out, wait, we have to get in there. So. I mean, when I was building the room and I had to actually get in here, I was like, this is pretty demented. Because I'm inside there putting it together and everything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're actually in here. And the only time that you're ever going to be in a morgue drawer is when you're dead, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Certainly a thought.
Right. So, but that's where we kind of center everything around a prop. Or a concept. So
Yeah.
So what was the concept for cemetery?
So normally, I mean, with cemetery, we kind of went with the faster route, and we did find escape room company, and some of the stuff we did not build ourselves, but we wanted to go to market quickly because our lease was going up in the other building. So I was like, why don't I get pre-made puzzles? So I'm going to say I didn't make all the puzzles in this room, but we wanted to get to market quickly, and we ordered all this stuff, and it took about 2 months to get it. And I was like, this is going to go real quick. Well, that was in July. So it didn't go quickly, and it was because we wanted to make the room very immersive. So as you guys know, since you've been in the room, you feel like you're in a cemetery. It's not just an office building to where we threw things in it.
It was incredibly immersive. Yeah. I mean, the walls were textured. You had like actual like iron grates and things. There was a tree with like there's moss everywhere, like fake moss. Every surface was covered with aesthetic. Yeah. So I did not feel like I was in a room that was an escape room. I felt like I was in a cemetery, and it was so immersive. And
that's what we go with. I mean, when we decided to do escape rooms, we did an escape room, and it was in an office, and they just threw some stuff in there, and we paid the money for it, and we were like, we could do this so much better. And since I am in the haunt industry and everything with the software that we sell, I know a lot of haunted house owners, and I kind of evolved with them because escape rooms, they really came to the United States around 2016 is when you started hearing about it, really. So, and it was haunted house owners that really are the ones that projected everything. So, Georgetown Morgue, which is in Seattle, Washington, I'm real good friends with the owner there, and they did a trip up to Canada where escape rooms were evolving there first. And it was also Dwayne from 13th Gate in Louisiana, and they all went up there, and they told me about what they saw up there and everything. And they built their first escape rooms, and then it was Rise Haunted House from also Chickasaw, Louisiana. So they all went up there, and they all have very immersive rooms. I mean, so that's why we were like, we can do this. And we were doing Haunt Scheduler, which is another company of ours, and we do scheduling software for haunted houses. So we're like, we need another revenue stream because selling software isn't really profitable, especially when you're in a niche market. So we were like, we need to do something else. So we did the escape rooms.
So this room was very tech heavy. A lot of different types of things going on. Would you be able to talk? I mean, is that something you've done in the past? Is this new to you, or? I mean, I would like to. Could you talk a bit more about that?
The technology, you wouldn't think there'd be a lot of technology in a cemetery, but you want the shock and awe. So it's like you have to start using things to where you put placement in, it has to be triggered or whatever to kind of give the immersion. So you want to give the illusion of magic. So, this isn't the first time we've used technology, but we started using Arduinos is what we're using for it. And there's so many things that you can do with an Arduino. It's kind of limitless that what you can come up with. If you think about it, you can usually find a sensor or something that you can do with an Arduino. So that's what you guys encountered. There's some RFID chips, there's reed switches, there's light sensitive stuff, not in this room, but I mean, it just makes sense.
Yeah, there were a lot of things that really gave the kind of feeling of like Indiana Jones putting like the idols into place and like switching them out with the bag and stuff. There were things in the room that like really felt like adventure-y, like, oh, I found this artifact. This artifact means something. I'm gonna have to go put this somewhere that's important, and,
right.
And like at no point did I feel like I was like triggering technology. There's like,
I'm glad because that's what we're going for. So right. I mean, and escape rooms have evolved a lot in the last few years because of technology. Because before it used to be just padlocks and stuff, and how fun is it to open 30 padlocks?
Yeah. That was the first one that I did. It was in an office in a strip mall, and there was like codes on the wall like hidden, and you're like, oh, I think that do that bad luck. All right, and it was fun solving the puzzles, but like in this, it was like all these like the codic runes and stuff that we were like having to translate. It was so much more fun than I really expected it would be.
Good. I mean, that's what we're going for, because we want people to come in and enjoy our visions. Of course, we make money with this, but the main reason we do this is because we enjoy watching people interact.
Suffer?
Okay. Yes, they might suffer a little bit, but we enjoy watching people smile and solve things, because I don't think there's enough of that anymore.
Yeah, we were like alpha level testing is what our game master told us, and there were definitely points where we were struggling with things, and I'd occasionally hear her snicker in the background. Since we were alpha testing, the game master was in the room with us, like making notes on what we struggled with, and it was I could tell she was really enjoying watching us struggle with a couple of the puzzles.
It's probably because Gwen's going to be like, I told you so. That's what it's going to be. I told you so. That's not going to work, or it's going to be something. I can almost guarantee that's what I'm going to hear from this alpha test.
We definitely we had a lot of fun with it. We did a lot of different it's the fun stuff, because I've seen some stuff online and I kind of knew what I was coming in for, but like at the same time you don't. But it was funny because like whenever you're seeing somebody do it from the outside, you're always like, well, it's just that simple. Like you're obviously overthinking this. Like, what the heck are you doing? There were so many times where you're like, it's got to be this. Like we're doing it completely. Like it's got to be like they've thought about this so hard, and we're the only ones who can decipher this. Like. It was really fun to have like this. Oh, okay. So that's the stupidity that slips in whenever you step into one of these rooms.
Well, it's funny that you say observing and stuff, and that's one thing I've been banned from game mastering, because I like to give up hints, and I don't like it when people struggle, and it's like, come on, guys, it's right there in front of you. It's literally right there in front of you. You can't see that.
See, okay, so that's an interesting point, because that's one of the things that I think I struggled with the most. Is this was my first one. I've never done an escape room before this, and so when I first stepped in, I was like, I don't want any hints. I want us to fucking solve this thing hintless. Like we're gonna fucking do it. And so I was like so hyped about it. And then these guys are like, no, we need to ask for hints. Like that is a normal part of escape rooms. You need to ask. So what is your take on like, are you somebody who asks for hints, or are you like, I'm going to brute force this puzzle. I'm going to figure this out.
When we play escape rooms, we most of the time get out and we try not to use hints, because what's the fun of getting hints? It's like playing a video game and you've got the video or the old books where you could go through the whole game and learn everything about the game. It's like
that was me as a kid.
And I preach to my kids. I'm like, you're not winning anything if you look at a book and get it. I mean, the game designer designed it so you could figure it out. So, I mean, I get the hint part. I'm kind of torn with that, but sometimes and you need help. I mean,
yeah,
everybody's not. I mean,
well, especially with how like this was alpha. This was alpha beta. Like there was a lot of things that were kind of like not like there was at one point where we had to do a knocking puzzle, and motherfucker, I swear I will take this to the out of here. I fucking knocked 3 fucking times in the exact thing that you were supposed to do, and I was like, this is not working. It's got to be somewhere else. And so I told them, I was like, there's got to be another door that we're supposed to knock at and like do the thing. And then like at one point, Aaron just walks over, or it was Joe. Joe walks over and does it, and it just like right away opens. I was like, motherfucker. Like,
well, that's what I did the same thing on the puzzle, because when we were going through doing the initial test of stuff with Gwen, and I was doing it, and I was like, it doesn't work. What's wrong with the sensor? I mean, it's not picking up. And Gwen said, you're not following the actual rhythm of what it is. You're doing it too fast. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense, but I mean, it's simple things. I watch you guys struggle with another puzzle, and I'm like, yeah, that's funny. All you have to do is stand back and just stare at it for a little bit. It's right there in front of you.
That was like a Magic Eye poster, but not the worst one. That puzzle right there, that would have been the end of me. If we would have done everything else perfectly, if I would have gotten there, I would have never gotten it. My brain just doesn't see things like that.
I have never, ever seen one of those magic puzzles. I've never, ever seen what you see in it. So I call bullshit.
I was good at those as a kid. Like I could see any of them. I remember going to the store in the mall in like the early 90s where it was like all those puzzles. I just spent like an hour in there. So, it's a sailboat. The fucking kid in the sail. No, that was me. I was the kid with the sailboat.
Yeah, well, nope, I can't see him. I can't see him at all. I've never, ever seen anything. Maybe the start of it, but I can't see him.
I think I was close with that puzzle because I just like at the tail end when they pointed it out, I like just started to trace because I was starting to do something. I was like, huh. And then somebody pointed it out and I was like, okay, yep, no, I'm just an idiot. Like,
well, and that's the fun thing about escape rooms is when you're working through them to design them and stuff, you just think of things and you're like, I wonder what it'd be like to come up with this puzzle. So we want the puzzles to be hard, but we want it also something that you can figure out. So, I mean, that's the joy of it, is thinking of something to make it like it's obvious, but it's not obvious because you want people to think. I mean,
so you said that this room was a purchased room. Is that a normal thing?
I don't totally know the answer to that, but I would say it's probably 50-50, because the one thing that I'm afraid of with escape rooms is the market's getting saturated, because there are escape room companies and they're designing these games, but they're selling them to multiple places. And to me, I think that's going to kill the market, because it's going to be like, oh, I already did this game in Los Angeles. It's the same one. And when you go to an escape room, you want to see something new and different that you've never done before.
Yeah. Was this your first time buying a room, or?
The first two rooms that we did with the Coven and Contagion, we did buy the rooms, but when we got them, we totally changed the storyline and changed puzzles and switched out technologies because we wanted to make it our own. So we've kind of done it with this one. It's unfortunate that the company that we used, everything's proprietary. So for me to make changes, I'm going to have to reinvent and take out the technology that came with it and redo it as my own, because I can already see changes that I want to make with it. It's like, I can make this better. So, I mean, and I think other companies do that, but I would rather see people come up with their own ideas.
Yeah, I could definitely see places where you would modify it. Some of the things that we struggled on, I don't think we should have necessarily struggled on the way we did. I don't know.
And I have to, I don't know everything that you guys struggled because I was in and out. So, and I'm sure that that's going to be the case.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for sure.
There was one puzzle in particular that we probably were on for probably about 15 minutes. That we were on one puzzle, and it's the one in the back hallway-ish. That's the turning one. And we like kept going back and forth on how we were supposed to solve that puzzle. And we were like, do we use this thing or do we just follow the characters? And we were trying to figure it out. And by the end of it, when we finally solved it, we were like, oh, you could have just done this.
I know exactly what puzzle you're talking about. Yeah, I kind of question it also. It's like, it doesn't make sense. I mean, so we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
No, that's fair.
Yeah, it's
So-
kind of interesting because the little wheelie do that they have you use to figure out like which symbol to rotate the dial to. It just always just kind of ended up where the index of the symbol was anyways. There's like, there's 2 columns of symbols that, then you have this little wheel with a marker that tells you, once you roll it down, it tells you where to stop. But it always just kind of,
Yeah, that's why I'm like talking.
I feel like we're talking so cryptic around it.
Is he really giving it away? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. It completely changed.
Depending on our hostmaster, depending on how she said things, she very much made it seem like, I don't think you actually solved it correctly, but you did get the answer. So
that's the other thing that's hard to come up with is like, how many different ways can you solve it? It's like, oh, I didn't think about that. Oh crap, shit, wait. They can do that.
Yeah, it's like math class when teacher's like, "How the hell did you get the right answer?" All right. You didn't do it right, but
Or like I managed to solve the ball thing by myself.
Oh, you did.
Yeah,
so
it's supposed to be like a 2-person thing. You like 2 people hold like these rods, and you have to work together to get these balls up a little display case and onto a top ledge. And I did it all by myself because it was really fun. While Joe and Chris dicked around with the wand thing, and she was like, "I was surprised you did that by yourself. That's supposed to be like a 2-person job."
Yeah, I'm kind of curious too because it's like chopsticks. So you're offering 2 sets of chopsticks. That I'd like to see how that went through.
Oh, I used all 4. It was
used all 4 at one time?
Well, I
Wow.
used 3 technically, but
Wow.
this is the kind of validation that I love to get.
Okay, see, so already
you should see Aaron eat sushi, like slamming 2 bits at a time. I've never seen somebody double fist sushi before, but
I wouldn't want a double fist sushi either. But I mean,
no. So you've talked a little bit about your involvement in the haunt industry and on previous houses that you've worked with and whatnot. What really got you into like this maker culture / haunt industry? Like what were the beginnings of like, this is something that I love and I want to make it my own?
that's really a hard one. I guess I originally wanted to do something with film. I wanted to be like a director or whatever, and of course I didn't follow that gene, but I was like, I've got an imagination, and with haunted houses, it's like you want it to be really immersive, and it's like, what can I do for this? So I started as an actor because I got involved with makeup and stuff, and that's what got me propelled into haunted houses because I'd done makeup at home, and we had a couple Halloween parties, and I dressed up for just that. And then I was like, I found a local haunted house, which was called Dungeon of Darkness. And I volunteered there. And after the first weekend, I was like, they could do it so much better. And I was giving them ideas and everything like that. And that's how I got started with it. So it's like, I like giving back, I guess.
yeah, that makes total sense. That's exactly how we got involved in everything that we do.
Yeah, it's fun creating things. I mean, it's like, I guess you're evolving the community or the world by coming up with your own ideas, and I think that's how things grow, is from an individual idea and everybody builds on it.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. So, at what point did you guys take? I guess at what point did you guys like dive into building all of this? Because like, you started out with a couple escape rooms that you had in the other building, and then like this is a much bigger endeavor than what you had going on over there.
I guess it's just we want to grow, and it's like we found the building and we were able to afford it, and then it was big, and then we're like, okay, what can we do to fill this space? And so it's just the want to get bigger, I guess.
Yeah, because you guys have axe throwing, which is how I found you guys, and and then the rage room,
Yeah, the rage room. That was not my idea. That was my wife's idea. And she was like, I want to come up with something. And she's like, let's do a rage room. And I'm like, a rage room? What's exciting about that? And honestly, I'll say it's a good outlet of frustration.
Yes. You did it at the right time.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Even though before we opened the rage room and we were just building the room, I got really mad that one day, and I went back there and it was almost completed, and I went to go smash something by throwing it into the wall, and of course it didn't break. It bounced back at me, and I was like, this is going to be a fail. I almost got hurt by this.
Fair enough. I forgive me if you don't know what I'm about to talk about, but do you guys ever see that you guys could become like a Meow Wolf like type thing in the area? Like, is that something that you guys aspire to at all, or do you even know what Meow Wolf is?
I'm gonna say no, I do not.
Okay. Oh man, we're taking a trip to LA. So Meow Wolf. Okay, so Meow Wolf is it's a complex. It is, you think like an Amazon style or Amazon size warehouse made into an entire immersive experience, where you literally travel through rooms that enter into different scenes. They could be very different. Like, I highly suggest looking up anything on Meow Wolf. It's a very fun, like, immersive experience. It's not necessarily an escape room, but it's very much a huge production.
I think I know what you're talking about, because there was a Facebook. Isn't there one in Texas too? Yes. So there's a Facebook thing that I saw. Yeah.
Yeah. There's 3 of them out in the wild right. There's 3 of them out in the wild right now, I believe. There's one in LA. There's one in Vegas, and then there's one in Texas. The one in Vegas just opened up, and it's actually called Omega Mart, which it starts off with you are entering a supermarket, and there's something weird happening in the supermarket. And so as you just kind of explore this supermarket, you could like open the door to one of the refrigerators, and all of a sudden the door just comes out and you can enter into it. And from what I've heard, there's 12 different entrances into the rest of the complex from just the supermarket alone. And you can just go anywhere in this complex.
You know, this is dangerous that you're talking about this, because Sarah has told me I can't come up with anything new for a year, and now you've already intrigued my mind. So it's going to be your fault.
Blame us. It's okay. We'll take it.
I could definitely do that. I just don't know if our market's big enough for that. So maybe when my kids are older and I can move out of the state, maybe that's something I could pursue. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, what other escape rooms do you guys have here?
So the other room that we have, which was purchased also from the same company, is called the Reactor. It's based off of Chernobyl, but like I said, we changed it and made our own. So what it is you're trying to prevent the other, I forgot the name of the style of the Chernobyl reactors, but there are actually, I think, 9 or 10 of them still operating. So the general public probably doesn't know this, but there's still the possibility of Chernobyl happening again.
Oh gosh.
So that's what we're doing, is we're like, this is the next one, and you're trying to prevent it from happening again, or you're doing the same test and you're seeing the same results, which caused the Chernobyl meltdown.
Okay. So we haven't done that one. I kind of watched you build through some of it, though. That one has like a lot of Arduino and technology in it.
Yes, and it also has Morse code in it, which no one really knows. That's one of the things we want to change with the room.
That's the one I'm going to succeed at. My ham experience will finally come to fruition when I'm able to translate Morse code.
Finally. It's like Chris hits that point. I've waited my entire life for this moment.
Well, there's a lot of people that have no idea, and that's when you build a room, you come up with good ideas, but they don't always work. So with the Morgue and Covenant Contagion, we changed a lot of puzzles because when every group fails the puzzle, it's like, okay, we need to change that.
Yeah. So one of the things you mentioned, you took us on a tour of Cemetery before we actually went through it to show us some of the weird things. Aaron didn't have the benefit of that tour as we were going in, which honestly, that tour didn't help us at all. But you had mentioned that like in Coven, you had people that come in and be like, "Oh, I recognize those runes," and like Chris knowing Morse code. Like, how do you deal with it when like people know too much about the puzzle?
I try not to think too much about that because usually it's something small like runes. I mean, there's only a handful of people that are into that type of thing. So usually I don't worry about those things. Other people that work for me and my wife, there's always the what if or have you thought of this? And I'm like, what are the chances of that really going to happen?
Well, you know, it happens. That
well, yeah,
that
but it's
one weirdo.
also kind of a rewarding thing in a kind of way where it's like you get this kind of rewarding like this. Oh, I know this. Like I can really contribute. So somebody who may not have been like as immersed in the experience or whatnot might know that, and then they are suddenly really in this because they're like, this is something that applies to me. I can contribute because like Morse code. It's like there's no fucking reason I need to know Morse code. None at all. But like the fact that I could contribute in that way and I could go, oh wait, I can shave a lot of time off us having to translate this because I had to test for this and I can just memorize it in my head for most stuff. I would probably still have to write it down and then translate it. But most times I can still do it pretty quickly. But like it creates a kind of a fun like, oh, I get to be really useful here. I get to do that. So, yeah, like, does it maybe make it so it kind of busts a puzzle for maybe a few? Yeah, but it also creates a really cool excitement for that person being able to be really useful in that situation.
And for sure, that's one of the other joys that we have within an escape room is you're bringing a group of people together and you're hoping that everybody gets to contribute to solving the puzzles. So it's rewarding to be useful in a group. And that's what we look for. But we also see things like dysfunctional families or people that don't get along because one of the funny things is that we'd like to do is have family counseling cards in the lobby because you can see where the people that cannot communicate or they don't get along.
I was gonna ask because you kind of brought it up just a little bit earlier. I was gonna ask, do you guys have like a running tally in the control room of how many breakups you think you've caused between like we're gonna do this for our first date and then they go in and realize we're not compatible in the slightest?
I haven't firsthand seen that, but I've heard stories about that. I would definitely not suggest an escape room be a first date thing.
Yeah, I've seen that happen with the axe throwing. I've been here and like watched a first date and did not go well during axe throwing. I wouldn't do that one for a first date either.
Now that you say that, yeah, I would definitely say axe throwing is not a first date material thing either.
That's funny though, because my first date with my partner was here. Our first date was on our brewing night when you guys brought out a bunch of the different brew companies, and that was our first date was here, and we competed against each other, and it was a blast. Like I get it. If you have a fragile masculinity and your partner could potentially like kick the shit out of you at axe throwing, yeah, you might have a bad time because it's not so much about strength as more accuracy and like controlling that strength. Whereas if you just brute force it, you're not going to do that well. So yeah, if you have a fragile masculinity, maybe don't do axe throwing on your first date.
Yeah, like the little short guys that throw the axe like they're throwing a fastball. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that, yes, I can definitely see that. Yes, for sure.
That's funny. That was your first date?
Yeah.
I was here that night.
Yeah.
That was
You were there for my first date.
interesting. Interesting.
That's something I didn't know either.
Yeah. Yeah, if you ever go axe throwing, it's all about finesse and repeatability and not throwing through the target to the wall behind it, but throwing right at the target. Yeah.
For sure, yes. You don't need to kill the board.
No. You got anything, Aaron? Anything else? This is another podcast reload.
Oh, yeah, sorry. So you've said you've done some work with Arduinos and stuff for some of these rooms. Did you know how to code that stuff before you started doing escape rooms? Or did you learn as you went?
I learned as I went. I'm the type of person that if something intrigues me, I'm going to figure it out on my own. When I was a kid, I was the kid that tore everything apart, and my friends wanted to do something or fix something, or I was like, I would sit there and figure it out until I got it.
And where do you put all those Arduinos? Are they local to the puzzles, or do you hardwire them to some central closet?
So with the rooms that usually they're standalone to themselves, but we use a company called Escape Room Techs, and they've designed their own boards and they have a web interface. So I don't really have to know that much programming. I know a little bit, but it's all GUI based. So you kind of just put the logic in there and build it that way. So you don't have to be a programmer to program these things. There's companies that are advancing the technology by making it easy for just an average person to do.
Very cool.
There were lots of puzzles that had audio feedback and or visual feedback, and I could see visual feedback being pretty easy to do because that's all kind of local to the sensors and everything. But the audio feedback was neat, and I guess that wouldn't be.
For me, it's more like there is one where you had to deal with colors and having to track colors in code in a certain order. I can see that being complex.
And with that puzzle, I didn't build that, but I'm very intrigued with that puzzle. And it's like, so you get ideas from seeing other people's inventions and you build off that, like I said before, it's not stealing technology, but it's building more. I'm sure you guys were kind of intrigued with the whole, how you could change colors and mix colors with one object, and it's like, how are you doing that?
Yeah, for sure.
No, it was a lot of fun. Just to have to think about the primaries and secondaries, and it's like, oh man, okay, so we gotta think about this and this and that, and it was that puzzle in particular was very cool. That, and then the what we keep calling wand. But sword puzzle.
It is totally a wand.
It is. It's
and
a
I'm going to fight everybody.
But doing that, in the sequence to have things light up and whatnot, that was also really cool to just see this very cool mix of technology to create very much a magical experience, a thing where it was of mystic arts. It was very cool to be very immersed in that and seeing that. And yeah, we can sit here all day and talk about the back end of it, but we were immersed in it. It was a very fun experience.
I just really like the fake grass. I feel like the fake grass really sold it on the aesthetic. I felt like I was because I wasn't just walking on concrete. It was grass-like.
It's funny that you mentioned that. I wanted something in there that was unique, and I just happened to stumble upon that at Menards, and I was like, this would really work, and it looks like grass. And everybody that walks in the room, the first time they step on it, they're like, whoa, wait, this is weird.
Yeah.
So, I mean, And it's kind of uneven when you guys were down that one hallway. I don't know if you noticed when you walked back, it was kind of like it was at an angle. And I assure you the floor is pretty much level. I mean, this building has some dips in the floor, but it's like you're immersed, and that's...
It's details like that really sell it. You know, it's really just that small extra bit just puts it over the edge, and then you just forget that you're in an escape room, and you're actually like, it was super neat.
And you guys being alpha testers, I mean, there's one more element that we're adding to it, and that's scent also. So, I mean, so you're trying to make it like a 4D experience. It's like there's smells and stuff like that. So
interesting. Yeah, there was one point where Quinn was like, use all your senses. And I was like, do I need to lick it?
Yeah, we haven't incorporated taste yet. So, I mean...
Yeah, that's not pandemic proof.
No, not at all.
There was one in particular puzzle that we were having a little bit of trouble even like looking at, because we were like, oh, that's probably something that we have to come back to later. And then our room master was like actually like saying like, hey, you maybe should think about this. The first I was like, oh, okay. And so I had to like take down my mask, and it started working. I was like, oh, this is not pandemic safe right now.
Oh yeah.
I know exactly what you mean, and I'm not fond of that puzzle either, but at least it works better than the puzzle that we had like that before in the Coven. So we had one like that before, and it wasn't a very good puzzle to design because I went through it multiple times and replaced pieces of it to make it more realistic.
Yeah, that one was interesting. I was watching the frustration build on Chris as he was trying to solve that one. That was funny.
And I think I can improve that by adding a mass airflow sensor to that instead of what we're currently using on it. It's just I haven't had time to experiment with that.
Yeah, that's been like, as I've known you over the last year, I feel like time has been your major hurdle for dealing with all these escape rooms. It's just like there's so much to build out, there's so much to test, there's so much to flesh out. Like even though they're purchased, like all the changes you want to make and everything. Like how do you juggle all of that versus also trying to like run the business as a whole and like everything else?
It's I don't know exactly how to answer that. I mean, I feel like I've aged 20 years in the last 2 years from all the irons I have in the fire. And when I first met you and found out what you did and everything, we started talking about a room that we haven't even opened yet with the van.
Yeah.
So the next one of our next escape rooms is it's a kidnapping theme, and you're actually starting out in a van. And I'm not going to give away too many details of it, but I've talked with Joe about it multiple times, and it's a hard thing to go through because you got to think of everything on it to make it immersive and realistic, and that's what you struggle with, is you want it to be realistic and immersive.
I've asked a lot of people that question of like how they juggle everything, and I've always hoped for like a really good life-changing answer, and I've never gotten it. So, thanks for making me feel seen.
I don't think there is a correct answer. It's also your partner in the business or your general partner that helps you through that. And I've been very fortunate with being able to work with my wife, and we're compatible. This has tested us for sure. I mean, so it's good to have a partner that backs you up and gives you a different perspective on how to think about things. If you're open to having suggestions, which I've learned how to accept criticism and suggestions and not just be closed-minded.
Yeah, that's massive, is being able to listen to the things that are being told to you and not take them as offense, but take them as like, no, I'm trying to help you. That's a big hindrance that run into with a lot of people like us, is they just can't accept criticism. They can't accept guidance from the outside, and being able to do that is massive.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the major things that when you're starting a business of this type or being anything like this is you want to grow and learn from that, and it's being able to accept criticism and suggestions, because so many times I haven't accepted those things, and it's come full circle to where I'm like, I need to listen.
Yeah. Well, we're about at the time. Do you guys have anything else that you want to add? All right. Matt, do you have anything you want to add?
No.
All right.
I'm thank you for inviting me to be interviewed. I'm usually not the one that talks. Anytime that the news has come and interviewed us, every time they'll interview me and ask me questions, and they cut me out. So today, I told my wife, Sarah, I was like, haha, I get to talk the whole time, and they can't edit me out. So hopefully this episode's not like, oh, we're just going to skip this.
That's hilarious. Yeah. What you don't know is we're going to interview Sarah immediately after this, and we're going to compare the episodes.
Oh, no. Well, okay, well, maybe no one will ever get to hear this.
That's fantastic. All right. Well, Matt, thanks for letting us run through the room. It was so fun. And thanks for having this awesome business in Peoria. Pretty much every time that we have friends from out of town, before when we could have friends from out of town, I always drug them down here to eat pizza and throw axes. So this was a really good time. And I'm looking forward to going through Reactor with these two.
Well, and thank you for coming. And that's why we do this. It's not because of the money. It's because we enjoy seeing people laugh and yell and have a good time. And there's no better feeling than seeing other people enjoy what you've created.
Yeah, totally, for sure.
I just want to thank both Joe and Chris for being wonderful team members in the room. It was just a very wonderful experience to have people just, willing to listen to my opinions, and all of us were just willing to listen to each other's opinions and try things out. And I just feel like we were a really good team, and it just felt really good to be part of a good team.
This was definitely an experience to where it's like, I very much talked to my partner. I was like, I don't know how we're going to be when we come out. I would like to think that we are all very good friends and we will figure this out. Yeah. But I was like, all of us are pretty intelligent people. I don't know. Us getting our asses handed to us might put us in a emotionally compromised state. So
what's our second date going to be?
Oh man. We still got a lot of cool fun stuff to do. Maker shop tour and all that kind of fun stuff. But we at least have Murph to look forward to.
Yeah, see, I had no qualms. I knew we were going to come here and just have fun.
Yeah, I believed that we were going to have fun, but I was very much like, it could go badly.
But my first escape room really kicked my ass and made me understand that, while I'm intelligent, I'm not smart at everything. So, I came here with no expectations other than having fun. So, I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, so my first escape room was one just across the river, just only 10 minutes away. And it was with all of our coworkers. And if you can imagine just how your coworkers are where you are, it went about like that.
It's funny you say that. We've had a lot of companies that come through our small offices and stuff. And you get to see the dynamic of how it works in their office, whether it's the owner that takes over everything or it's the whiny person that takes over the whole group that gets their own way. So that's
whatever happens in the office happened there. And it's cool. So this is supposed to be an outing and we're just back at work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've seen that before. Yeah.
last year, the company that I'm with now, I started with right before pandemic started, and they actually had a company night scheduled here, and this was right after I won league that time for axe throwing, and I didn't really know anybody, and I didn't bring up the fact that I had been throwing axes here a lot and was like half decent. And then all of a sudden somebody looks at the website and my picture pops up on the website and they're like, wait, we got a fucking ringer in here? You weren't going to bring that up? And I was like, no, I really wasn't.
Nope. Yeah. You were just going to be the star of the show, right?
No, I was just going to throw left-handed and drink beer and have fun with everybody. That was my plan. I wasn't at a point where I felt comfortable just dominating everybody and ruffling those feathers.
Yeah, that'd probably be a good thing.
So, all right. Well, thanks everybody. And keep making stuff.
This is the end of the podcast.